My name's Jung Gwonjong. I'm the boss of this entire hotel. My duties include heavy lifting, spreading happiness, and driving fancy cars. And I officially moved into the sunroom. You think you can cut my share of the rent?
Say what?
That day, she walked into my life. Hi. I met the woman of my dreams.
I'll take you home. I got the Maserati.
All the women in the club will be like sisters to me.
Respect is most important in a relationship. If a man doesn't respect a woman, then he's no man.
You add all the brilliant moments, or what we call miracles. Welcome.
Isiwe ni yale mambo yako ya kumsumbua.
Elijah alipata zile pesa za hospitali.
Hongera kwa hiyo rafiki yake huyo huko Ulaya.
America. Hii ni the best opportunity nimepata so far.
Naweza kuwa uko na olive oil.
Nani anataka kutolewa mapepo?
Najua.
Shika ekalia. Baba!
Kwani uko na ngori na chief?
Ulijua wewe mwenzako hana pesa.
Mimi pia nakuanga mtu wa biashara.
Muliandikishana pale popote? Ndio hii hapa hivi.
Babangu amefanya.
Sasa nilifanya nini?
Ni hata sheria ikubali hivi.
Sheria si ndio? Andrew, hebu nenda funga hiyo mlango.
Monica, huwezi funga mlango na mamangu wako.
Tell you, a new age has dawned.
And what new age are we welcoming? In Milele, we had our own vegetables.
Yeah, right.
That vegetable garden of ours. Remember? When you ate that mouthful of veggies, you had to eat 3 mouthfuls of rice?
Well, when we first arrived, I remembered nothing. You're better than me there, but there's also this line. It goes, Karibu katika kijiji cha Milele. Welcome to Milele.
A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for watching KBC Channel 1. This is BizCheck. My name is Betty Kiptum. Over the next hour, we will be discussing the impact of the weather changes, specifically the economic impact. Remember, yesterday, the Kenya Meteorological Department released the outlook for the March, April, May 2026 long rains, and our very own Jael Opicho was on the ground, and she filed the following report.
With the country coming out of the October, November, December season that has been marked with severe drought in parts of the country like Lamu, Mandera and Turkana owing to failed rains, the weatherman says the situation is not about to let up during the March, April, May long rain season. According to the Met Department, some regions will receive fair to good distribution and others will experience poor distribution. This, the weatherman says, will impact negatively on food security, especially in the counties expected to receive average to depressed rainfall such as Machakos, Kitui, Makueni, Kajiado, Taita Taveta, Mombasa, Kilifi, Lamu and Kwale.
Rainfall is likely to be below average during the forecast period. Despite the depressed rainfall over the coast, occasional heavy rainfall events are likely to occur in a few areas.
We are also going to we'll be promoting climate smart agriculture practices, mainly technologies such as conservation agriculture, water harvest, efficient irrigation system.
And on the flip side, the Met Department warns of expected heavy rains in other parts of the country that could result in flooding, landslides, waterborne and vector-borne diseases, urging players in the health, water and energy sectors to put in place necessary measures to avert any crisis.
On health system preparedness, that is on stockpiling of vaccines, wash and nutrition commodities, vector control commodities and isolation centers.
With enhanced rainfall, where we expect flooding, we are saying that there'll be need to repair the dikes in the flood-prone areas.
To optimize hydropower dispatch and to absorb the extra inflows into the dams.
The weatherman has also singled out 20 counties that are expected to receive above normal rainfall, urging them to prepare for the planting season. Kenya Met Department Acting Director Edward Muriuki says in the MAM season, Lake Victoria Basin, the highlands west and east of the Rift Valley, which include Nairobi and parts of the northwestern region, will receive near to above average rainfall.
Occasional heavy rainfall events are likely to occur in several parts of the stated region.
Near to below average rainfall is expected over the southeastern lowlands in the northeastern. Meanwhile, warmer than average temperatures are expected over the whole country, with increased probabilities over parts of Lake Victoria Basin, coast, southeastern lowlands and parts of northeastern Kenya.
The rains is expected to occur in the month of April over most regions, except for the coast, where the peak is expected to be in May.
That there is a report by Jael Opicho Chemtai, which was filed after the release of the March, April, May 2026 long rains outlook by the Kenya Meteorological Department. Now, on the bottom left of your screen there is my colleague Lucy Mwaura, who is on the sign language interpretation. And in studio, we'd like to continue this conversation on the changing weather patterns and what the impact of that is on the economy specifically. And with me in studio is Dr. Richard Muita, who is the Deputy Director in charge of climate services at the Kenya Meteorological Department. We also have Judith Akolo, who is my colleague at KBC. She is a climate journalist. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Dr. Muita, I'd like you to comment on that particular outlook that was released yesterday and just give us a context, so to say.
Well, thank you, Betty. The seasonal rainfall forecast, or outlook as you call it, was released yesterday, and it clearly highlighted the expectation of the rainfall patterns or the weather in general with regard to our country. And as you saw, the director said that much of the western part of the country, up to the northwestern parts, including the Lake Victoria Basin, all the way to the southern regions, including Narok and parts of the South Rift, we expect near average to above average rainfall. That is, you get close to what that region normally gets when the season is good, and slightly above that. For the eastern parts of the country, much of the eastern part of the country, we expect near average to below average rainfall. That also includes parts of the coastal region.
Right. And so this is coming at a time when we are currently going through a drought situation. The report that was released in December, if I'm not wrong, showed that 24 arid and semi-arid counties are at different stages of impact of drought. And there are situations that are dire. There's Turkana, there's Mandera, and other regions that are in a dire situation. So, Judith Akolo, you have handled these reports over time. Please make that make sense for us.
What is going to happen in this particular season, according to the Met Service, is that the areas that are in rainfall deficit are again going to receive below normal rainfall, meaning that they'll not be able to recover from the effects of the drought. But when you look at Turkana County and then you look at Samburu County, it's in the area that is expected to receive near to above normal rainfall, meaning that they could recover from the effects of the drought right now. But counties like Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, those are the areas that really we need to really focus on and see how to help the vulnerable communities to be able to cushion them from the impacts of the drought. But when you look at the areas that are expected to receive near to above average rainfall, we should be able to produce enough in those particular areas. And these areas I'm talking about counties like Trans Nzoia, counties like Nyandarua. You know, these are the grain basket areas of our country. If we decide to really invest in productivity in these particular counties, then we'll be able to offset some of the impacts in the areas that are expected to receive below average rainfall. The biggest worry is in the coastal region, and I think Dr. Mwita can expound on that.
Right, let's just throw it to you. Yeah, that biggest
Yeah,
worry.
basically for the coastal region, normally the onset, that's the start of this particular expected season will come a little bit late. However, historically the coast experiences its peak in the month of May. And so considering that the month of May is again towards the end of the rainfall season, then it means for the coast the situation might not be as rosy or as good. And therefore, in terms of the socio-economic activities that depend on rainfall, then the coastal region perhaps will have to either come up with other interventions in terms of how to bridge that gap. Yeah.
And most, as Akolo mentioned, agricultural production in this country, a lot of it is rain-fed. And so I would like Daktari to explain to us what kind of challenges we are facing right now, considering the climate change that the world is facing, and we are part of the regions globally that are highly impacted. Explain to us what this means for farmers, for food production.
Yeah, I guess as Judith had said or highlighted earlier, we expect good rains, let me call them good rains, in the maize basket or in the agricultural potential areas. And she already mentioned some of these areas like Itale. Even areas in central Kenya are also expected to receive near average to above average. And therefore, it's the expectation that those areas, if they maximize and take advantage of the season, they can maximize production and therefore ensure food security in general, hoping that other factors which are not weather related will not interfere with that expectation. However, for areas that expect near average to below average, which I mentioned, most of them actually lie in the eastern border of Kenya. Those are pastoral areas. We all know that the large bulk of our livestock are actually found in the eastern, semi-arid and arid pastoral areas or rangelands. So we expect that because pasture will definitely regenerate after the rains start. However, because the rains will not be sufficient and the distribution actually is expected to be poor, generally, in terms of the overall season, then it means that they might not be able to come out of the drought situation which has already hit the region. And therefore, in terms of the agricultural productivity, we expect a positive impact on the part of those agricultural potential regions we mentioned. However, for these other pastoral areas and semi-arid areas, even where they support crop production, still we don't expect them to really have much to look after or to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's delve more into the livestock situation, because I think a week ago we made a report about there's a region that is selling a goat which would have easily gone for 15,000 at 500 shillings because they just need it, to go before it dies. And Akolo, you have covered these things year in, year out. What has been your experience?
My experience has been that we are lagging behind as a country in dealing with the impacts that are arising from climate change. For instance, right now we should be thinking about how do we adapt to the climate that has already changed. And we can adapt to this by ensuring that we invest in our research. For instance, we have livestock that is hardy, that can survive some of these impacts that we are having. But there's a disconnect, We don't fund research, and therefore we end up in this particular situation where we lose animals. But again, even as we look at the research, what we could do is, in some of the areas that are going to receive below average rainfall, we have transboundary river resources. And an example is a county like Mandera. This county is on the border with Ethiopia and as well as Somalia, but I'm looking at the Ethiopian side. Now, according to the Greater Horn of Africa Climate Outlook Forum that released its forecast last week, Ethiopia is among the countries that is going to receive above average rainfall, and more so in the Ethiopian highlands, meaning that the rivers that have their catchment in the Ethiopian highlands and flow into Kenya will have sufficient water. So what we should be looking at is how are the people in charge of the water sector going to ensure that this water does not go to waste, does not just flow into the country and down into the Indian Ocean, that it will actually be utilized in watering these particular areas so that we are able to at least have enough feed for the livestock. But again, I'm an optimist, and I'm looking at it this way. Even as the season is as dire as it is, if we listened carefully to the director of the Kenya Meteorological Service, Edward Murioki, he said clearly that even as it's going to be below average rainfall in some areas, there could be episodic heavy rainfall instances. And then we go back to the issue of adaptation. How are we utilizing this episodic rainfall that comes within the season, where we have actually been, where the forecast indicates that there's going to be below normal rainfall, but you get this heavy rainfall. And I think Dr. Mwita can explain to us, we have those seasonalities within the season that we get certain weather systems that then provide us with a lot of moisture, a lot of rainfall. How are we utilizing that?
Right.
So if we put that into use, then we'll be able to at least alleviate some of the really big challenges that we may have in these particular areas.
You bring up very important pointers, because one of the biggest challenges, as I had said, was the dependence on rain by our farmers and not taking advantage of the water that we get, from all sources, whether it's the rain or underground water. And so from your end, Dr. Mwita, I would like to know, first of all, in terms of information getting to the farmers about these forecasts and them actually using them in their, planning their seasons, their planting seasons. And then you can also comment on the issue of water conservation.
Yeah, basically as a department, we normally have our services closer to the people. Principally, we have our directors of meteorological services in each of the 47 counties. And right now, after we have released the seasonal forecast for this season, they have already on a top gear to come up with what we call participatory scenario planning forums, where they engaged the local stakeholders, key stakeholders who will actually benefit from the forecast, and especially to come up with proper scenarios or advisories which would favor each region according to how the rain is expected to evolve in their region. And therefore, what that means is that if an area is more of expected to receive some, as Judith puts it, episodic, we talk about some storms. You know, storms, these are heavy rainfall that may occur even within a day or two, and then it can lead to substantial amount of water, which if well utilized, possibly conserved or preserved, then it can be used probably for other things. But most importantly, for those areas that are expected to receive near average and below average, you find that for those storms to be useful, probably from the livestock or agriculture sector, they can look at a situation where they can store or harvest the extra, the excess pasture, because we know even the growth rate of grass, like now it has been in drought situation, but the seeds are still in the soil. In fact, within 2-3 days of rain, you start seeing the grass sprouting out, and therefore there could be a situation where, because of those storms, they may have some pasture which may sprout and increase in surplus. And if they can be able to harvest that, so that probably they can conserve that for that period when the rain comes to an end, and of course overall expecting less rain in the season, then it may help them to slightly enable or sustain their livestock. However, for those areas that were in drought but are expecting above average rainfall, like Samburu and Turkana counties, I guess for them they may have an advantage, where probably much of this water, if there were some interventions in place, because the reactive situation that we normally find ourselves is the one that makes things not work. But if, say, they had some either water pans, some dams, or they had boosted their catchment areas, then that can really be very useful for them, because the soil moisture can continue giving them some of the outputs they need for them to continue. Yeah.
And what can be done to get out of this reactive situation? Because this happens every year. We have this conversation every year, What needs to be done to ensure that the conversations we are having are about how much water do we have in storage? What will the rains do for us to support what we already have? Yeah, Judith?
Thank you for that question. I think the problem we are having is we are yet to internalize that indeed climate change is with us. And this I say because when you look at how our national budget is put in place, our MPs are yet to internalize that. Because if they did, then we would not be having members of parliament from, say, the ASAL areas calling a press conference to lament about the impacts of the drought in their region. Perhaps they could be looking at how do we then ensure that there is a budget allocation that will cushion these particular counties from the impacts. And this I say because when you look at how do we ensure that there is availability of water that can reach close to the people, instead of seeing mothers walking all the way 8 kilometers in search of water, how can we pipe this water to a central place where they can actually collect the water from? So, and that one needs budgetary allocation. Also, if we build the resilience of Kenyans to know that what they can do, adaptation is local. Adaptation is local. It can either be within the household, within the region, within the community. So you look at, if this is what really impacts us, how can we ensure that we are resilient to be able to deal with the impacts when they arise? An example would be this. If, for example, in the eastern part of the country, they didn't, the rainfall season actually failed, and this season is not their season. But you see, if they had planted early maturing crops or crops that are drought tolerant, they would not have gone at a loss. But then when you look at how much maybe a household used to plant whatever crop they planted, expecting sufficient rainfall, and in the end they lose everything. So if there was a budgetary allocation to help cushion this household to be able to again plant the following season, then you'll be building that particular resilience for that household. But where they lose everything because the weather pattern was not in favor of what they grew, and then they end up losing everything, it means that they have to start from a very low position to be able again to recover from that kind of shock. So my answer would be that we need to start looking at how do we build the resilience of these communities that are facing severe impacts of climate change.
Practical examples are required, and I know that insurance in the agriculture sector is still very much low, both from uptake by the farmers and even the products that are available for them. But before we delve into that a little bit more, I will throw the same question to Dr. Muita in terms of ensuring that we are proactive in our cause to ensure that we are conserving water.
Yeah, in my opinion is that both at the national and county level, we already have the right policies, because most of these regulations and policies have been well researched, and therefore what is required is just to implement them to the letter. And having said this, because of what Judith mentioned about adaptation, in order for us to have resilience, we need to move out of this reactive situation by ensuring that we have both short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans, and then have deliberate kind of monitoring and following up to the letter. For the short term, they may include immediate kind of interventions, where, for example, the moment we expect the rains, are we able to facilitate the farmers get, say, quality seeds on time and other farm inputs, for instance? For those farmers who have lost their livestock, for instance, what is our short-term intervention within our policies? Then we ensure we have taken care of that. After that, we upgrade that now to the medium term, where we say now, in order for us to be a little bit sustainable, maybe we need to ensure that these families don't go hungry. Maybe these families don't keep livestock that is not sustainable. They can destock during the time when they have more, and then use that money to do what we call diversification. Because when you depend on only one kind of reliance in terms of what you depend on, then when it fails, then you can even come from a very good situation to a very low situation. And therefore, there is need for diversification such that those areas that perhaps, say, grow drought-tolerant crops, they can look at the ones that will give them better yields. For instance, there's this tradition in Kenya where people believe that you must plant or grow maize. And no matter what you tell these people historically, they don't know, I must see some maize in my... But the research that we have carried out and that has been carried out in the country, we find that a farmer may get more yields if they planted, say, a certain variety of maize, which does not require a lot of rainfall, or millet. I remember during a project that was christened the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Project, we went to some parts of Kericho which normally are cold and they cannot sustain maize crop. But through what Carlo had researched on, a specific farmer planted a certain variety of sorghum, and wow, even the rains were not good, the temperatures never improved, but they just were smiling to the bank. And so this is the kind of thing that we should encourage across the whole country, depending on the suitability. We need to look at the suitability of each place. If we find that, say, livestock production is no longer so viable in a certain area, we should not insist on it. Otherwise, we'll always lose our livestock, lose our crops, and then eventually we say serikali's idea.
Indeed. I like that you've mentioned the issue of reaching the farmers and telling them this information. As Judith said, this adaptation and resilience is local. So you talked about the meteorological services directors in the counties, right? Yeah. Now, you talked about that they do the forums, the public participation forums for the stakeholders that are involved. Let's talk about ensuring that these farmers at their farm level are actually receiving the information they need to make wiser choices as they plan their planting and even choose their seeds. Because as we know, extension services are a problem in this country. Very few farmers can access extension services. The ones that are available are private and expensive. So ensuring that these farmers can receive information, it could be through technology, you know, and any other information platforms. I would like your comment on that before I go to Akolo.
Yeah, basically there are many channels of disseminating and communicating, you know, this information. And from the KMD perspective, we also leverage on our media sector to support. And therefore we have the mainstream media, and we also have the localized, you know, media. Like now you have vernacular radio stations and so on. At the same time, we have social platforms. Like Kenya Met Department has a Twitter account. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram, and we also have a website. But at the county level, we also leverage on local meetings, or you know, commonly known as barazas, and also through the national government. When they have those meetings under the county commissioners, the departments are represented. And since the departments are devolved, therefore they work closely with the locals. So much of this information, the first recipients of this information are those, I'll call them like their agents. And therefore after that they are able to disburse this. For example, yesterday after the outlook, the seasonal outlook was released, even before we left the venue, already all the media houses had already been informed. And as you continued with your bulletins, you are announcing to Kenyans. So when you now go to the lower level, you find that there are some CSOs, there are NGOs that work also with, and they are very interested. So I would say finally that with the research that we have done is that today as we speak, something like 80 to 85% of our information would reach most of the people on the ground, and in some areas it could even be close to 100%, maybe 95, depending on the way they have grouped themselves. Because there are certain groups of users of weather and climate information who have formed themselves into groups. They use a WhatsApp group. Even you have WhatsApp groups that have 1,000 people and so on. So once they receive that information in that WhatsApp group, they would also individually also disseminate amongst their neighbors and other people. And therefore, in a way, we have come to realize that the radio is one of the most effective means of disseminating this information compared to all the other channels. Yeah.
Right. Akolo, you are a radio journalist, so yes, that must be good news. I mean, it is the most listened to and consumed media channel. I'd like your comment on that as well, reaching the farmer, reaching the people who need this information to make their decisions.
Great, thank you. Yes, actually, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, radio reaches about 77% of the population. On the issue of how this information can reach the farmers, yes, through the media is the main area that this information can reach the farmers. But I think we need to, as a country, we need to boost the agriculture extension services. And if these agriculture extension service officers are also trained on knowledge on how to interpret meteorological forecasts, then they would be able to advise the farmers better. But even before we look at the agriculture extension officers and the farmers, we should also look at the seed development companies. They too need to now start working with the Kenya Meteorological Department so that they can know what type of seed will be appropriate for that particular season. For example, right now that we are talking about the agriculturally potential areas receiving near to above average rainfall, then if the seed companies were to then provide seed that these farmers can actually maximize production using the appropriate seed and using the appropriate fertilizer, so that we are able to produce more this particular season, so that, because we don't know what will happen the following season. And then also, if we maximize our production in the areas that are expected to receive near to above average rainfall, then we'll also be offsetting some of the expenditure that we would use in the areas that are expected to receive near to below normal rainfall. So essentially, information is good, but the application might be misapplied. And it can be misapplied in the sense that, yes, the farmer knows that the onset in my area is on during this particular week. That's the information that he has. But this farmer may not be able to get the right seed to grow during that particular season. So it will be, we need to work in a concerted effort where the whole spectrum of players are on the same page. Yes, the farmer gets the information, but then the seed development sectors, are they also on the same page so that the farmer doesn't lose? But again, when you look at it now, when you look at the impact now on the economy, and if we are really trying to address the issue of poverty, at some point we'll also get stuck, because this is where the problem will arise. That a farmer who was able to grow at the beginning of the season and knew very well that the season would be good, but in the end something happens. Maybe there is hailstones, like you remember what happened is it in Nyando, where farmers actually lost their crop. Now, this is where I was thinking we should have a budgetary allocation that can then stimulate, the insurance sector. Incentivize the insurance sector to be able to offer insurance to farmers, although they don't like that because the smallholder farmers are a bigger risk. But if government can come in to ensure that they are incentivizing these insurance companies, they'll be able then to offer insurance to the smallholder farmers, so that we don't end up in a situation where a farmer loses crop and he had put everything in it, and then they are back to zero and they have nowhere to go.
I think credit where it's due. Last year, I think the third quarter, the government launched a program with some insurers who specifically focus on agriculture.
Yes.
And the deal was that any farmer who gets the subsidized fertilizer gets insurance in there. So of course, that was the launch. We will see the impact of that, during this year's agricultural production cycle, right? So to you, Dr. Muita, your comment on cushioning farmers more.
Yeah, I guess first and foremost is to ensure that access is improved, because they say information is power. So where we have the challenges in accessing this information, other actors, as Akolo said, is that there should be some investment. And now that we are in a devolved system of governance, I guess within their policies, they can strengthen that by possibly coming up with new actors For example, at the Kenya Met Department, we would propose to have like what we call information, climate information officers, maybe in every county. And if the resources are allocated, then in every ward. Because I believe when you look at the system of the legislature, you have an MCA for every ward. Assume that was a climate information officer in that ward. Then most likely you'd find that in all the wards in Kenya, they would be able to access this information. Why? Because there is a specific office that is, delineated for information dissemination, and also in terms of ensuring that this happens, there is need also of capacity, improving the capacity of the end users, whether they are farmers, those end users in the water sector, in the forest sector, and other livelihood sectors. Because there are people who still do not have the capacity to use the information because they don't know how. So when they hear that, oh, the forecast says that we'll have more rainfall and so on, what they do, probably they would run and buy seeds, tend their farm, prepare, and then they just go on. But you see, when their capacity has been improved, they might know that I need also to know which seed variety or which crops would be more favorable for this particular. For example, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has come up with, kind of like a map whereby each crop variety, they have even defined the amount of rainfall that is suitable for that. Maize, you have several, some of you come from farming regions in this country. Some maize variety like I think 514 or 612, they require a lot of rainfall. So it means you cannot maybe plant that in the event that you expect below average rainfall. And therefore, to build the capacity of the farmers and people to know how to actually make decisions. And there is what we call anticipatory action. It's like when you know the impact or what is expected, then you plan your decisions according to what is in place. And therefore you anticipate. You don't start acting when something happens. And I think if that is done, then that would be a good thing. And then finally, I also tend to think that the Kenya Met Department has come up with a meteorological bill which wants to transit the service into a semi-autonomous agency, so that in that bill we are also looking into integrating indigenous knowledge forecasts, because that also plays a major role across the various communities we have in this country. And they will become an integral part of the Weather and Climate Information Service, such that when we are producing the scientifically generated forecast and information, we also see how we also bring in the indigenous knowledge, so that when we have both of them synchronized, then we would benefit more and inform the people. And there is a strong sense of ownership when people feel that what comes from us, and indigenous knowledge would go beyond just looking at the environment. It would also go to what we call local knowledge. Local knowledge is about the experience that somebody has had having lived in that area, and therefore when they bring that information and we package it together with the science-driven information, then we expect that that will be a powerful tool for us to adapt better for the changing climate.
Right. We look forward to covering it when it's already an act.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right. Another way of cushioning farmers, of course, is moving away from rain-fed agriculture to irrigation. And one of the government has been very intentional in investing in irrigation infrastructure, but one of the challenges that has always come up is the shrinking acreage per capita. That, we were 10, now we have, 1 acre each, there were 10 acres, and it keeps shrinking. And so I would like to hear your comments in terms of how this can be mitigated or slowed down, so to say, because land division will always happen. But how can this be mitigated, and even to ensure that farmers, despite their size of acreage, have access to irrigation equipment and facilities? Start with you, Judith.
Great. I think when at the start of the program, the Affordable Housing Program, if we recall very well, our President, His Excellency William Ruto, spoke about the need to ensure that we have a way that we allow various homes to have a particular area where they can have their housing, and then they release the arable land to agricultural productivity. And then I think part of the reason why we have the affordable housing is also to ensure that we have people living in particular areas and we release land that is agriculturally potential. And also we remove this, the challenge of land subdivisions, because there are areas that are very highly agricultural potential areas, but the problem is they've been fragmented. So you can't really support such farmers with infrastructure such as irrigation. But also we have micro irrigation equipment that can actually be utilized by smallholder farmers. The issue is we need a private sector that is proactive, that can actually see, do we need this kind of micro irrigation plants, and how do we ensure that the smallholder farmers are able to access? So if we have this kind of thinking by the private sector, then we can roll it out across the country so that we leave the big infrastructure plants that are being put up by the government to be done by government. But the private sector can now ensure that the smallholder farmers are able to do what? To access. But again, when you look at some of the communities, where people are already using micro irrigation equipment, there are quite a number. It's only that perhaps they've not really been able to access proper information from the agriculture extension officers on how to increase the productivity. Otherwise, it's in place, but we need now to learn from one another so that we are able to have that multiplier effect. And then another thing that we could also look at is whenever government puts in place programs, we should also, as media, be able to amplify that so that the public is able to know that this kind of program is in place and how can they actually take up that particular program. Yeah, that would be my response to that.
Right. Dr. Mwita, I'll get your comments in just a little bit. I am informed that we need to go on location, and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is having its AGM and also launching the e-government procurement capacity building program. The KNCCI president, that is Dr. Eric Ruto, is currently speaking there. Let's listen into that.
After our Chamber Vice President Mustafa Ramadan led a delegation of 40 business people to Saudi Arabia in terms of exchanging business information. Kenya has engaged with the Kingdom of Saudi and ranked as the third largest global market for labor, which was operationalized last year, and with over 200,000 Kenyans employed in Saudi Arabia. We appreciate that kind of partnership. As Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, to continue offering training opportunities, we came up with a Chamber Business Academy, and so far we have graduated over 600 SMEs who have done training in digital skills, digital transformation, international partnerships, international partner search, and knowledge transfer in terms of manufacturing. In the last 2 years, Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, to promote international trade, we have opened our office in China, which so far we have managed to take over 125 SMEs for purposes of training, and we have, through new markets, exported over 750 million Kenyan products to new markets in China. We recently also launched our office in Dubai to be able to provide market intelligence and verification of importers in UAE so that we can be able to offer our members international support in terms of trade. We have other programs that we've been doing as Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, especially in terms of market access and also credit access. We have a program called Jinua Program. In the last 2 years, our chief guests, we have trained over 40,000 youth and given advance of non-collateralized loan to over 36,000 companies across this country, and these are the future captains of industry. In conclusion, the government, our development partners and members of the business community, KNCCI, we affirm our commitment of being a trusted partner to government, strong advocate for business, catalyst for growth, trade and enterprise development. We call our members and the business community to participate actively in e-procurement trainings, engage the Chamber on policy challenges and opportunities that we have through our Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Business Intelligence and MOUs, and leverage KNCCI networks locally and internationally. Thank you very much, and I would like to invite our chief guest this morning. I would like to start with our neighbor from Uganda, Honorable Her Excellency Juliet Kagudu, the first Secretary for Commercial Attaché, and representing Ambassador Eunice Gigenyi, Her Excellency the Ambassador for Uganda. Thank you very much.
That is Dr. Eric Ruto there, the president of KNCCI, speaking at the AGM, Annual General Meeting of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the launch of its e-government capacity building. And we shall be getting back to that in a little bit, but we'll get back now to studio and continue our conversation on matters impact of weather changes, especially the economic impact on farmers, on livelihoods. And having this conversation with me is Dr. Richard Muita. He's the Deputy Director in charge of Climate Services, Kenya Meteorological Department, as well as my colleague who is a climate journalist. She is Judith Akolo. And before we took that particular link, Akolo, you were telling us about the cushioning farmers and ensuring that irrigation services are reaching them. So, Dr. Muita, I'd like to hear your comment on that as well.
Yeah, I guess irrigation is a good thing, especially when it's well planned. However, in my own view, I guess we need to start from the basics. Where does the water come from? While we all know that the water comes from rainfall, it's not the water that comes from the rainfall that sustains any socio-economic activities. I've been privileged to undertake some research in the rising water levels of the Rift Valley lakes in Kenya. And since it's in the media, or it's in the public domain, you saw that there were some people who were misplaced, some land was destroyed and property mushroomed by water. And part of that was people's farms, where people were farming. Whether they were farming there as the owners of that land or not, the issue is that that water took some space. And from the research that we have undertaken, we find that the most optimal or the most important way to sustain that would be to improve the catchment areas. Because one of the causes that has brought maybe such a problem is that when there are not enough trees, I'm talking about deforestation, there is nothing to hold that water in the catchment areas. Because once you have the water in the catchment areas, then the water is released slowly into the rivers, perhaps even into the dams, and therefore can sustain these agricultural and other socio-economic activities, including even the ordinary water supply that we look to. So in my view, I think there needs to be what we call a deliberate action to actually put our catchments in the right shape. And then secondly, as I said, building the capacity of the farmers to know how they can even undertake irrigation agriculture. Because irrigation agriculture is quite intensive. You know, it's not, actually it is a science that you really need to know how you can use water and utilize it properly. For example, I did my doctorate in Australia, which is largely a desert. However, they use a lot of what we call precision agriculture, where some little water like what we have here can be used to, give a yield which is substantial. And therefore, you do not need so much water for you to really come up with good production. But that needs incentives. The government should come in, and as I earlier said, in terms of the existing policies, even right now when you look, I guess there is an agriculture extension program kind of regulation and law. And if that can be implemented, and therefore they take the farmers and say, we are deliberately going to undertake some irrigation programs in this area, and perhaps the government, because you talked about the issue of the shrinking size of land, the government comes up with a deliberate plan, for instance, of saying that in a particular area, we are going to give this group of farmers or investors to come and do irrigation, so that it should be a deliberate attempt. Otherwise, when it's left as is right now, it will be very difficult for, say, subsistence or smallholder farmers to initiate certain things on their own. It will be almost impossible because probably they are struggling with other issues. So I think this should be a deliberate thing that if we want to boost the food security situation and we want to go to the agricultural sector, let us also put diversification. For example, in agriculture, you see that there are many things that you can undertake. For example, how much incentives have been put into apiculture, where we have beekeeping, like in those semi-arid areas. People still use these old traditional methods of harvesting or keeping bees, where you cut this log of tree and then you do not have. From what I have learned, even through the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture, bees is like having a farm, a 20-acre farm. If you put them and you are guided well, you can even be richer than a maize farmer. So I think some of these things, if they are trickled down to these smallholder farmers, I'm sure they can do very well. How about poultry? If they can be really encouraged, this is the way you can do it. How about so many other things within the agriculture sector? I think when we give the information in terms of the weather and climate information, it's those other experts in those areas to take up the regulations and the policies, package them, have an engagement with the farmers, have an engagement with the water sector, the energy sector, and then see how we can move from where we are maybe to another level. Yeah.
I like the use of the word deliberate,
It should be deliberate.
It must be deliberate. Yeah. And of course, there's a time when the president was talking about we do not need rain, we need water. And, there was uproar around it, but people, I think, did not understand what he meant from a scientific perspective. And so even as the government is racing to plant trees, I know that there's a tree, the eucalyptus tree, that takes up a lot of water from the underground storage areas. So there's also the need for information. As you said, information trickle down is very important. But before we close the conversation now, I would like to hear from you what you foresee happening, maybe in the next, as you said, short term, medium term. What do you want to see happening?
Well, in the short term, maybe let's strengthen the existing infrastructure, because, for example, we expect some flash floods in some areas, even some flooding in some areas. So in the short term, when it comes to disaster management, we need to fix the existing infrastructure, ensure that it is in a good condition to actually cushion any loss of life or damage to property. Then for those sectors like the agriculture, the crop farming and so on, that require immediate intervention, then the relevant agencies should work with those sectors, ensure that they give them the right information and tell them this is how you utilize this to maximize it. Then in the medium term, we could look at situations where, like the government plans of building up to 15 billion trees by 2030. What do we do during the rain season? You find that sometimes we plant trees during the dry season. Surely, one does not need to have gone to school. So some of those things are things we can do in the medium term, where we say that come next season, we are going to plant maybe 5 million trees, ensure we plant them at the right time when there is water. Because planting is not enough. Growing the trees to sustain them would be important. Then you can trickle that idea across all the other sectors. In the long term, let us look at mitigation plans within our policies, whereby we can say maybe in the next 5-10 years, where do we want our farmers to be? Where do we want our infrastructure that supports those livelihood streams to be? Where do we want our water situation to be? Because remember, Kenya is a water scarce country. We may argue and say we have a lot of water that comes, but what do we do with the water? Israel, as we speak, is a desert. They grow food. I'll tell you, you wouldn't believe it, that these people, they have a bunker where they store food that can last them for the next 100 years in case there is no water and rain in the world. So can we exist in 3 months or 4?
No, absolutely
So I
not.
guess you have the answer to what do we do for the short, medium, and long term.
Right.
We can do it better.
We can do it better. Judith, he has mentioned a lot, and I know World Radio Day is coming up sometime next week. I'd like to hear from you the role of journalists in terms of amplifying these stories and even contributing to policy and regulatory changes that need to happen. Go ahead.
Thank you for that question. Just before I answer your question, I want to support what Dr. Mwita has just said. We need to really ensure that we support government policy in planting the 15 billion trees, because our catchment areas are poorly degraded. And as Dr. Mwita said, that is why we are having the inflows into our lakes that are too fast during the rain season, such that we have then people getting displaced because of the well-up of the water. And then another thing that perhaps he didn't mention is that this particular forecast is good because the areas where we get our hydroelectricity power, they are going to receive near to above average rainfall. So I'm sure with the electricity we are well catered for, because then they'll have to generate more from the hydros, because look at all that catchment, all those catchment areas, there's enough water that is going into the hydros. And now going back to the World Radio Day, I need to just encourage us that we have access to the information. Our ears are always on the ground. We speak to the policy planners. Let us ensure that this information reaches the public so that they're able to make the decisions that we've just talked about. If we have information on the forecast, let us package it in a way that that farmer is able to make the right decision over what he needs to do with his farm. Let us also be able to inform the public so that they are safe. You know, there are times when the storm comes, and if we don't inform the public in good time, then their safety is at risk. We are the eyes and the ears of the public. So let us do our best, and considering that 77% of our population has access to radio, then we are the right medium through which this information can reach the public. And then to the journalists, my fellow journalists, my call would be this: let us not be content with the training that we got from journalism school. Let us expand our knowledge base so that we are able then to deliver information that is knowledgeable to the public, that can help in decision making. That will be my contribution.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will take that as your closing remark.
Yes.
Dr. Mwita, you have 1 minute to give me your closing remarks.
Well, just to encourage Kenyans, all sectors, to actually utilize the information we have provided for this season to their advantage. For those mamas and babas back in the rural areas, they don't understand maybe English or so, we have their children who go to school. Let them try to educate their parents and those who do not understand. Then I encourage the collaboration between the media and all these other stakeholders, so that when we come together, we can be able to encourage our country to utilize the information in the right way. Even where there is excess, let's utilize it such that we can bridge the gap where we do not expect this excess. And therefore, we'll also continue providing the short-term, continuous 24-hour forecasts, weekly forecasts, monthly forecasts, because some drivers cannot capture some of the things that happen in a short time. So they should continue following us as a department so that we can provide them the information. We should not say we got the seasonal forecast and we rest, because if there is a storm expected next week, what will you do? Maybe your livestock can come and be swept, but if you have that information, you can be able to take the right, measures to avoid that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your thoughts, and thank you both of you for the work that you're doing. Asante sana. I have been speaking with Dr. Richard Muita, Deputy Director in charge of Climate Services at the Kenya Meteorological Department, as well as Judith Akolo, who is a climate journalist here at KBC. We have been talking about the economic impact of weather changes, of course, the impact of climate change, and how to ensure that the farmers and people who need the information to make good decisions and choices on their farms get the information when they need it. And of course, as Dr. Muita says, there is they'll continue giving us those short-term forecasts as well, to ensure that Kenyans are well informed and take the necessary action. That is the first conversation here on BizCheck. We want to take a quick break. When we come back, we shall be talking about how to ensure that we are selling Kenya better, and specifically on matters of ensuring that we have professionalism and formalization of tour guides in Kenya. I will be speaking with the Group Chief Executive Officer, who is the Vice Chairman in charge of Federation of East Africa Tourist Guides Association, that is Kennedy Omuga. Do stay with us.
Kila Jumamosi saa 1 jioni kuna sauti mbili zinazotawala anga ya habari. Dada wawili pacha, magwiji wa ulingo wa habari.
Karibu sana katika Dira ya Magwiji.
Magwiji kwa upekee wa sauti, mtindo na maarifa.
Katika enzi ya sasa iliyosheheni mabadiliko, tuko ange kukuletea taarifa, fafanuzi kutoka kila pembe ya dunia.
Jamila na Wanjiru wanakupeleka kwenye safari ya taarifa, uchambuzi na uhodari wa matukio yanayotikisa dunia.
Tunajizatiti kukupa taarifa sahihi na kwa wakati.
Habari kwa jicho la kitaalam.
Tuna hamu na hamamu katika kuuliza maswali stahiki yenye kuwajibisha,
na sauti ya uhalisia.
Tupe sikio na macho kwa taarifa za kina.
Dira ya Magwiji, pacha wa habari, kila Jumamosi saa 1 jioni hapa KBC Channel 1.
Mkai ya mkiano inabidi umebembeleza. Kama nino mob ama ukimbie mansi utaipoteza.
Why do we attract the wrong people? So why are we attracted to people who hurt us?
So you've grown up in a very maybe abusive environment, and now you're looking for familiarity.
Your relationship in a work because the both of you want it to work.
They put in so much effort to get you, but when they get you, they stop.
So don't get into a relationship if it is not based on Christ himself.
Allow the word of God to bring light into every dark area of your life.
Prostate cancer remains as one of the leading cancers amongst men and is responsible for taking many lives and leaving scores of survivors.
The doctor opened it. I was looking at him. Then I saw his face change a bit. But for us laymen, the word cancer spells doom. Word cancer is death.
Being physically active, avoiding obesity, good diet, mainly red meat also linked to the onset of aggressive forms of prostate cancer, so reducing the red meat intake.
We went to India, he had the cyber knife, and that is the time, from that time, we had been close even before.
Yeah.
But I think this brought us even closer.
All treatment options are available locally. Okay, so there is no need for the patients to travel abroad for the treatment also.
Halo halo, nimekuja na tangazo hapo. Rasta kukusikia. Hii nyingine moto. This is how we do. Yeah, chill, lay back, straight, stand, yeah, we do it like that. Rocky Motos. Do. This party's Rocky Motos. Hello Friday. I've been waiting for you for a long time. You just made me. Live
wengine watasema ni
isiyo ni yale mambo yako ya kumsumbua.
Elijah alipata zile pesa za hospitali.
Ongera kwa hiyo rafiki yake huyo huko Ulaya.
America. Ini the best opportunity nimepata so far.
Naweza kuwa uko na olive oil.
Nani anataka kutolewa mapepo?
Najua.
Shika ekelea.
Baba!
Kwani uko na ngori na chief? Ulijua wewe mwenzako hana pesa.
Mimi pia nakuanga mtu wa biashara.
Muliandikishana pale popote? Ndio hii hapa hivi.
Babangu amefanya.
Sasa nilifanya nini?
Ni hata sheria ikubali hivi.
Sheria si ndio? Andrew, hebu nenda ufunga hiyo mlango.
Monica, huwezi funga mlango na mamangu hapo.
Nitagundu wakita.
Tell you, a new age has dawned.
And what new age are we welcoming? In Milele, we had our own vegetables.
Yeah. Right.
That vegetable garden of ours. Remember when you ate that mouthful of veggies, you had to eat 3 mouthfuls of rice?
Well, when we first arrived, I remembered nothing. You're better than me there, but there's also this line. It goes, Karibu katika kijiji cha Milele.
Welcome to Milele.
Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. This is BizCheck, and we are now in the second hour of the program. My name is Betty Kiptum. In the second hour, we'll be talking about Destination Kenya and how we are selling Kenya's tourism in the region and the continent. But first, before we get to that, let's take you to the KICC, where we shall be getting to that particular event in a little bit. I'm informed that is the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, AGM, as well as the launch of the e-government capacity building that will be happening. But let us get started on that conversation on Destination Kenya with Kennedy Kaunda, who is the Group Chief Executive Officer and Vice Chairman of the Federation of East Africa Tourist Guides Association. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Let us just start with a very simple question. Who is a tour guide?
Who is a tour guide?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Those are very good questions. A tour guide is someone who take visitors from one place to another destination. If you may allow me, make it short.
No, you don't really have to make it short.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need our viewers
Yes.
to have a good understanding.
Yeah,
so as the Federation of East Africa Tourist Guides Association,
Yes.
what do you do?
Well, as Federation of East Africa Tourist Guide is an association which carries Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, 6 countries. And we are intending to work under EAC, East African Community. In Kenya, as East Africa Tourist Guide Association, we are placed in Nairobi, the capital city. As an association, we do capacity building, training, sustainability, partnership, and collaboration with other partners in the tourism industry. Yes.
Now, there's a report that was released the other day by the Kenya Tourism Board that 900,000 travelers came to Kenya from African countries last year. And the government is very keen on tapping that market some more. what is the role of tour guides in supporting the tourism industry?
First of all, you should understand that we have a destination called Kenya. And you will allow me talk of the role of tour guides in the tourism economy. And the role of tourism of tour guides, we may say, why tour guides matters. Remember that tour guides are the first ambassadors of our destination. We are the ones who build the image. We shape the visitor's experience, satisfaction, and also build a destination image. That is why we have this destination called Kenya. We play a very big role because we influence the length of stay, visitor spending in many aspects. So we are the ambassadors. As much as we have our partners, KTB, who market Kenya, Toast Cattle, and are the tour operators, we are the first people who receive the clients from the time of entry to the time of exit. And we are the ones who turn itineraries into adventure and experience, and therefore we influence a return client. Yes.
And that is very important in terms of the tourism economy, ensuring that we are making sure people are, one, coming back, having a good experience, and also telling other people about their experience in Kenya. Sure. So what goes into curating an experience that is worthy of, you know, a tourist coming back? What goes into that? Remember,
it takes a lot to be a tour guide. People look at us as drivers. Actually, we are not drivers.
Okay.
It's the same way you cannot say that a teacher chalk or an accountant a computer. Driving is an added advantage. It takes a lot to be a tour guide. You have to train. We are the ones who do human-wildlife interaction. We are not used so much in the camera. We are used so much in the wildlife, where we do fauna and flora, telling about our culture and heritage, our landscape. So when we do human-wildlife interaction and make our country a place to be, because remember, Kenya is a destination. Kenya is the cradle of mankind. That is why we always say, ask me why I love Kenya. And I believe that Kenya being a destination, we want our brothers and sisters, because we are pushing for domestic tourism, which is a very big product which we can tap to. It has not been exhausted or explored. That's why we are reaching out our partner states, whereby as East Africa Tourist Guide Association, we attract tour guide across Kenyan border to the other countries, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, where we work. So we place any tour guides at the level. You can not only guide in Kenya, but you can guide around Kenya, East Africa, and Africa. Remember, tourism is a shared agenda. And we want to place ourselves in the front line so that we can build our market as we also tap to our international market.
And in terms of becoming a tour guide, there are a lot of people who view guiding as a hobby, you know, because I know the city so well. I see some tourists, I tell them, we negotiate, I tell them it's $100 and then they proceed to do the guiding. I would like to hear from you the certification and licensing, how tour guiding is actually a profession.
Actually, as East Africa Tourist Guide Association, we represent trained, certified tour guides and licensed. You cannot just wake up one morning and decide to be a tour guide, because a tour guide has to give information, authentic information about our culture, about our heritage. And for you to be a tour guide, you need to be trained. You need to be trained. You study about fauna and flora, wildlife, culture, and our history as mankind. Remember, tour guiding started long time ago. And so I want to create awareness, even to the young people, Tour guiding is a profession. It is a career. You can build up. I know many people look at us. When they see us driving those jeeps, they call those are drivers. Leave alone, driving that jeep, you have to train. So driving is an added advantage. So I want to call upon even the young people who are pursuing tourism in the universities, that I know there are other opportunities, but there is a very big opportunity when you can create your self-employment. Once you are a professional as a tour guide, people will hire you. People will contract you. You will not need to go and look for a job. The job will meet you at the doorstep. That if you are a professional, trained, certified, licensed, that is what it takes to be a tour guide. You don't just come from home and become a tour guide. It is a profession, and it takes a lot. And we have different kinds of tour guides, from the mountain guides, community guides, marine guides, safari guides, trekking guides. There are all those, and there are others we call site guides. Betty, if you come from this place, you're going to Nairobi, you go to your home, you'll meet a site guide. Somebody who was born there, he was raised there, he has knowledge and understanding of his surrounding. He can take you through history to geography. That is whom we call a site guide. So to be a tour guide, there is an opportunity. We ask you to come, join our association. We'll get you through the process. We have institutions which we have partnered with, like Utari College, KWST, and other colleges which are coming. So that is why I'm here today, to create awareness that for the young people, men and women, there is an opportunity in tour guiding along the hospitality industry. We need to have the capacity. If you look at this time, if you can do that research, many people now who are driving these Land Cruisers, you look at them, they are old, they are about 50 years. We are the young people. They should come to us, so that because we are shifting out, we need them to take over. But they should come as professionals. Some of us, we became professional through experience. Remember that tour guiding started a long, long time ago. Even Jesus Christ was a tour guide. Tour guiding also, he toured, he used to lead his disciples. So tour guiding is an historic profession. So you come to Kenya, it is historically why we were referred as drivers. It was a white man job. He's the one who used to be known as a tour guide. The black man was only doing the driving. But when he left, the Indians take over. When they took over, that is why they could not pay two people in the same vehicle driving tourists. So he turned into the driver, and he told him, now you have to drive and guide.
The guiding, yeah.
That is why our brothers and sisters, started calling us driver guide. There is no dictionary. If I ask you, go to your dictionary and find me the name driver guide, what it means. I believe you cannot find it. But if you talk of a tour guide, even in the dictionary, you'll be able to understand who is a tour guide. So I want to tell young people, young men and women, tour guiding is a profession. Please tap this opportunity.
And so currently, based on your membership, how many tour guides are there in Kenya?
We have 10,000 tour guides in Kenya, both from national to the county region. 5,000 are domiciled in Nairobi, and the other 5,000 are in other circuits. Remember, we used to have 7 circuits. We have added up to 9. Okay? So the 5,000 are domiciled in Nairobi, because remember, Nairobi is the point of departure and point of arrival. Yes.
So I ask that number because tour guides should be a very key component of growing tourism, especially in the devolved units in the counties.
Correct.
And so is there a gap there in terms of tour guides supporting tourism in the counties, and what can be done to fill that?
Thank you. Thank you very much. From where I sit as a CEO, I'm a tour guide by profession. I've been pushing so much to partner with the Ministry of Tourism. We have been partnering with COG now, because being that tourism has been devolved, reaching out to the counties so that we can offer training to our tour guides who are in those counties. Our CS, Rebecca Miano, he has been singing and shouting very much on how we are going to improve the numbers from 2.4 to 5 million. We are not going to do that if we cannot put on a strategy way of on how we are going to bring together these other destinations which are in the counties. Each county has its own product and landscape. They have all their dynamics way. We can tap to them. But if we don't have these group personnel who are going to be workers, the tour guides, then who are going to make and be part of the players to market our destination in our counties? Because now, being that our country and tourism has been dropped, like the Ministry of Health, so we need, so by working with COG, the Council of Governors, through them, we'll be able to reach other tour guides, those who are in county like Mombasa, Lamu, Kisumu, Rift Valley. So we put them together. We have tried to partner with county like Homa Bay, Isiolo County, Lamu County, Uasin Gishu, so that they can give us the data, bring together anyone who is handling a tourist, whether trained, whether licensed, so that we can have them trained, have them licensed, so that they are able to work in their respective counties. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And as you say, tourism is an experience.
Correct.
And so when coming up with this experience, of course, someone starts at the point of looking at potential destinations, you know. You decide whether it will be Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and then you look at pros and cons, budgets, and all that is considered. In terms of collaboration, tour guides and tour companies and all these other players in the industry, how is that looking like right now, collaboration? There
is a very big gap when it comes to tour guiding. Mm-hmm. Madam Betty, today, if I ask you, who is the civil servants of the Ministry of Education? What will you tell him? It's the teacher.
Yes.
Who is the clients?
The students.
The people and the
parents,
students.
Yeah.
Who is the civil servants of the Ministry of Health?
The doctors,
nurses, and nurses.
Yeah.
Who are the clients?
The patients.
The patients. Mm. When we come to the Ministry of Tourism, who are the civil servants?
You tell
that
me.
Is why we are here to voice my clarion call. The other day, we were able, during last year Tourism Week, towards Jamhuri Day, we had an opportunity to award our president as tour guide #1. Okay? So, we have been fighting so much because we want recognition. There is a very big gap. We are trying to have the Tourism Act to be amended so that we are able to recognize the role, who is a tour guide, define, recognize, and interpret who is a tour guide. And that is why my clarion call that tour guiding being a profession, it has to be recognized. So there is a very big gap. And which together with our CS, allow me to take this opportunity to tell our CS, Rebecca Miano, since he took office, it's now 3 years. This is the third year or fourth year. He has never met the tour guides who are the civil servants of the Ministry of Tourism. You cannot tell me, if we have the tour operators, the hoteliers, all of us are in private sector. And the government has no control. But I'm happy, through our Ministry of Tourism, under Tourism Regulatory Authority, the TRA, they are our regulator. As an association, we do self-regulation. But now, how can you regulate somebody you have not recognized or defined in law? Today, if I'm arrested as a tour guide, under which clause am I going to be charged? I'll be charged as a driver. So, working together, we are going to arrest so many things because we are having our visitors. Because we are not able to regulate the industry very well. That is why we have clients coming at the airport. And you get that the person who they had booked with is nowhere to be found. A tour guide go with the clients. Betty, you gave me a client, you told me to wake up in the morning, you cannot find me. You are forced to look for another vehicle. So under this regulation, and I'm happy because we have been working closely with the TRA and KWS so that we are able to streamline the industry, harmonize it, so that we bring professionals who are going to work in this industry. And tour guide plays a critical role. So together with the Ministry of Tourism, KWS and TRA, stakeholders, institutions like Kato, Butali College and TOSC, now, who are the associations of tour operators, if we can bring these things to rest and we have people who are trained, certified, licensed to work, because we say a teacher is a teacher, a policeman is a policeman. That way, we are going to have our dream of increasing numbers to 5 million.
Right.
Be realized.
And how far are these proposals for the review of the Tourism Act? How far are they right now?
They are very far and near.
Okay, clarify that. What do you mean by that?
We started chasing this from 2022. That is when, during Barala's time, we took the petition to Parliament. So to have the Tourism Act be amended so that we are able to identify the tour guide. It has not been realized. So we came in, we had the former lady who went to ESC, Malonza. And then Fred came. Now we have Rebecca Miano. Nothing has been done. So we are trying to tell, and help me use this platform to tell Rebecca Miano, can you kindly meet the tour guide so that we can help you? We have the solutions. TRA has managed to bring our regulations, but there are still gaps. Because when you have our parks being assessed with people who are not qualified, what experience do they give to the traveler? And which will make him, which will attract him to return and come again and bring more.
And so the licensing that you mentioned, of course, the Tourism Regulatory Authority is the one licensing tour guides.
Correct.
So there is already licensing that is happening.
Yeah, right now, since we started, they have done a regulation. I think it is already gazetted. It was a policy. We have said that let everyone be licensed. Anyone handling a tourist, let him be licensed. After that, now we will start again cleaning the system so that we can have the right people. We don't want to say to chase people from the industry. If you came in, Betty, by other way, maybe your brother bought you a Land Cruiser and he told you to follow Kahunda and you are now a tour guide, we don't want to chase you away. These are the people we want because we want to hand over. We'll get you trained, get you licensed, so that now you are able, in case of anything, because you ask him who is a tour guide. We are supposed to give the right information, authentic one, and turn your experience into adventure. So if you don't have these skills of communication, customer care, and the history of your country and other country, like our neighborhood, because as we share the tourism product, we do forward our clients. You know, they can do 10 days in Kenya, they go 5 days to Serengeti, Tanzania, that way. So we need people who are trained, licensed, so that you are able to work across the region.
During the COVID period and then into the area of recovery,
yes,
the tourism sector took quite a hit.
Sure.
And I remember that the sector survived a lot on domestic tourism.
Correct.
campaigns such as Tembea Kenya, and at that time, the tour companies, tour operators, played a very key role in ensuring that they are tailoring products that meet the desire of Kenyans and also the budgetary constraints of Kenyans,
Correct.
you know?
Correct.
So from a tour guide's perspective, how do you think you can add value to the experience of a Kenyan who is, I'm not looking at this as a tour guide, tour operating company, I just want a good experience within my budget. How can tour guides contribute to that?
In fact, if there are people who can give you a very memorable experience as a tour guide, because we work in a remote setup. And that is where we want our brothers and sisters not to fear. When they see those Land Cruisers and van, they think that that is a white man vehicle only. You can afford it. We can give you a well-tailed budget within your spending, because we have various categories of lodges, camps, cottages, which our brothers and sisters can afford, way from the school children, from primary, secondary to colleges. And during COVID, we realized that traveling is a healthy, it's an unhealthy issue. You can imagine people are unable to stay in the house. You'll even die, you'll get sick. So the only thing for you to heal, you have to travel. That is why we want to, it was realized that domestic tourism, we can depend on domestic tourism before we fill out with the international. So as a tour guide, I am well informed, a lot of knowledge on the places to be, those expensive ones, those budgeted clients, all of them we can accommodate them. And for our brothers and sisters in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, we have been trying to reach out to the Ministry of Tourism through our PS Ololo Tour. We always ask this question with KTB and Machuko Kenya. We want to increase domestic tourism than international. What one thing are we supposed to do so that our brothers and sisters can travel? I know if you ask, I ask you, Betty, today, where are you not going for holiday? Where are you not traveling as a domestic tourism? I don't know what you'll tell me. Maybe you don't have money. So we want to look at many states. That's why we are saying, as tour guides, we have the solution, we have the answers. Let the Minister of Tourism, KTB, and our CA, she's called Madam Jonah, the CEO for KTB. Can we partner together? The tour guides, we are the ambassadors. We are the ones who portray, who build our image for our destination. Let us come together, partner with us. I'm telling you, we will shape, and these figures we are looking at, because we are working closely with Tanzania. In Tanzania, we have TTGA, Tanzania Tour Guide Association. We go to Saga, Uganda. We go to Rwanda, Rwasaga. Burundi, we are building an association there. We brought in Southern Sudan, and we are saying we should talk to our brothers and sisters. Tanzanians cross over to Kenya. The Kenyan who cross over to Tanzania, visit Serengeti, Ngorongoro. The Ugandan come to Masai Mara, come to Amboseli. So through our associations, that is where I told you we have national and regional associations, even in Kenya. We are also partnering them. We have border issues, I know, but as tour guide, we have laid a curriculum, standard training for tour guide. If you can not only guide in Kenya, you can also guide in East Africa. You can also guide in Africa, because we have an association called FATIA, Federation for Africa Tourist Guide, where I sit as the PRO. Because we want to have tourism being an African agenda. We need to push so that our people can travel. We are looking at our government. We need to speak to our president. Yesterday, I saw many people in State House. Our president is tour guide number 1. I urge him to come out, invite us to State House. We want to give you, because I know you are loved. We invested so much in hospitality. And being a tour guide number 1, we will have you, and we have a model and a concept. Either it is some taxes that we are going to make our government to waive or to decrease, because like now our people cannot travel because maybe the park fee are so high. Okay? Recently you saw us doing a march to the Minister of Tourism and to KWS, or because of 8.5 increase.
Yes.
But we are saying this one can be done because we are having return in terms of you say added value?
Yes, added value, value added, yeah.
Value addition.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do it together. It is not expensive to travel, because that is why we have classified types of vehicles, TSV vehicles. We have Land Cruisers and we have the tour van. If you cannot drive with a Land Cruiser, you will drive with a van, which you can afford, Betty. So I'm also urging other stakeholders, like the Minister of Education. Let's partner together, build a curriculum. Tourism has to be taught from primary, so that our children grow. Not that you go up to university, you have never visited Masai Mara, you have never visited Amboseli. If I ask you, Betty, have you ever visited Savo? But because I know you are a media person, maybe by that chance you have been there. But many of our people have not visited this. So if we can carry this knowledge even we created CBC. Why don't we teach our children that, tourism, this is tourism.
Yeah, I like that you've brought up the issue of, well, I have not been to Savo, but yes, I have traveled quite some within the country. And one issue that always comes up is we have, let me call them tired destinations. It's like the only destination that people know is the Mara and Mombasa or Malindi, the beaches. And so there's something that needs to be done to make sure that other destinations, including those in the counties like Turkana, Turkana needs to be as big as Masai Mara, but it's not in terms of accessing or attracting the numbers. So it's good that you mentioned that. And what more do you think can be done to popularize those other destinations that are not so popular right now?
Betty, I think let us have the right people to do the right job. Okay? Why am I saying so? Sometimes when I look at Magical Kenya, KTB, and other partners like you, Betty, because you are in the media, what product do we need to? We have showcased some product which we have said, it is a perception now. If I take you to Malindi, Watamu, there are other products that we have not explored, which we need. If we can, that is why I say, tourism is an hospitality industry, and it requires all of us. Yeah? If I talk of the Hustler Nation model, which came from Mamboga to everyone, if we can involve all this, whereby one Friday in along Kenyatta Avenue, we are having people coming for dinner, all of us can flow and come up with a product which will sell very much. We even don't need to go very far. We can start from Nairobi, then go to other counties. That is why I say, as a tour guide, we work in a remote setup. We already know other products which we are not speaking loud about. Yes, I agree totally with you. The perception that we have, it's only if I go to Amboseli. Some visitors, they ask us, why are you driving me to Amboseli? If I have seen an elephant in Savo, I've seen an elephant in Masai Mara. Then I said, it is because of Kilimanjaro. But we have other destinations. You go to Savo, Musima Spring, Saturn Lava, and other products which are there. They are niche. We go to Turkana. So together as tour guide, because we work in a remote setup, we are able to come together and give KTB and Magical Kenya, if we can work together, other products which have not been tapped. Awesome. And there are so many.
Right, thank you very much. I would like to take you, the viewer, to an event that is happening. I had alluded to earlier, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is holding its AGM and launching the e-government capacity building. I am informed that the Nairobi Stock Exchange chairperson, that is Kiptum Kitonyi, is currently speaking. Let's listen into that.
Similarly, Saudi Arabia has a very well-established sovereign wealth fund. Kenya is at the beginning of developing its own sovereign wealth fund, and I'm sure we could learn a lot with the untapped resources our country has in terms of what we could do to galvanize long-term wealth, as the Saudis have done with Saudi Aramco and many other things that they have done in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, as you move towards the election, let me advise you to select good leaders, to do the right thing. Don't make it a very expensive process. Make it one that is aimed at ensuring that we are sharpening the skills and the effectiveness of this organization. The team that is in leadership today has done a commendable job, and I'm certain that with our support, with your support, we will be able to move to greater heights of success. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, as the chairman of the NSC, I would like to encourage you to invest in our capital markets. We are the second best performing in the continent of Africa, giving a 57% dollarized return last year. When I took last year at this time, market capitalization on equities was 1.4 trillion. Today we are at over 3 trillion. When I took over as chairman, we had 70% foreign investors and 30 local. Today we are 70 local, 30 foreign. We have a new strategic plan with many IPOs coming, and if you do not start to invest today, you will be too late. So I just want to close by quoting Nelson Mandela, who says that after climbing a great hill, always remember there are many more hills to climb. Thank you very much.
Those are proceedings from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Annual General Meeting, as well as the launch of the e-government procurement capacity building. And just speaking there was the Nairobi Stock Exchange chairperson, Kiptum Kitonyi, speaking about the growth of the capital markets and how he wants to ensure that more Kenyans are investing, a turn from 30% foreign, 30% local versus 70% foreign to this moment where 70% of investors in the capital markets are Kenyans or, local investors. So kudos to that. We come back to studio and continue with our conversation on matters tourism and how tour guides are selling Destination Kenya. And with me in studio is Kennedy Kaunda, who is the Group Chief Executive Officer as well as the Vice Chairman at the Federation of East Africa Tourist Guides Association. Kennedy, before we close this conversation, a lot of travelers depend on social media and the digital platforms to, look for experiences. That is where they shop. At least I do that as well. So I would like to know if tour guides are taking advantage of the digital platforms in terms of reaching more potential customers.
As tour guide, we are more into practical than theories.
Okay.
Okay? Mm-hmm. I've had clients who have used TikTok and social media, and I've heard their cry and the experience that they give. All of us, we are embracing innovation, and digital platform. But we can use it in a very better way. Traveling and tourism is a different experience, Betty. Why do I need to travel? I ask you, why do you need to travel? Why do people travel? Is it that they don't have a beautiful home to stay? That's why they want to come? It is because they want human interaction. innovation, digital platform is good and great idea, but we use it as a stepping stone. But more work has to be discharged by the tour guides. Because you see, you cannot come and then maybe, I don't know, you will excuse me for this, a robot will take you to Masai Mara. You need human interaction. Traveling is health. People need healing. TikTok is playing a very big role, and some of us are using it, but we need to shout there out. That is why we talked of training and capacity building from the national to the county level in this type of personnel who are the ambassadors of tourism. We are the drivers of the tourism industry. So we are using those platforms, but we need to speak loud so that we can also use. Because I, as Kennedy, you as a traveler from Indonesia, you need to Google. Go search a guide in Kenya, then you will know me, you'll know my profile, so that even if you are booking with Pullman and today you are landing, you already picked your tour guide. And remember, we have categories of tour guide. There are those who speak foreign language. There are those who are badass, like that. So we are making use, and we need to make use of this platform. Digital, TikTok, WhatsApp, whatever, call it. We need them. And that is why I'm calling upon the young people. Because when I speak of tour guiding in the 21st century, we need the young people to come. But they need to be trained and to be guided. Because like from where I sit, if I have trained as a teacher and I need internship or attachment, where will I go? There are schools, I'll go there. But as a tour guide, I'm finding it difficult even to place these young people who are coming from university, where to go for attachment and internship. Because for you to go for intern as a tour guide, where will you go? Allow me use maybe Somac, other company like Pullman. They are not employing you. How will you do your internship for you now so that I will be able to give you a clients you travel? Okay, before we finish, allow me speak of challenges.
That will be your closing remark. I'm informed that we have about a minute to go. So
yes,
please, yeah.
We have challenges. My call to NTSA, which is the Ministry of Transport, we should work together. We don't want scenario whereby we are driving to Amboseli, 20 vehicles are placed into a police station simply because they are inspecting speed governors. So we need to do better. The Ministry of Transport under NTSA, Traffic Department, through our TPU, Tourism Police Unit, we need to partner together so that we can create a smooth traveling for our clients, both domestic and international.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. And I hope that the tour guiding profession is formalized and appreciated by those who depend on you guys. Asante. That is Kennedy Kaunda. He is the Group CEO and Vice Chairman of the Federation of East Africa Tourist Guides Association, speaking to us about the tour guiding profession and how they are an integral part of Kenya's tourism agenda. Remember that Kenya wants to reach 5 million visitors in a few years' time. So a lot of work needs to be done, and tour guides are very important on that. That is BizCheck this morning. Thank you very much for keeping us company and for watching. From myself, my colleague there, Anne Wangeshi, who is on the sign language interpretation, and the entire team that made this possible, thank you so much. Do have enjoy the rest of your viewing and have yourself a lovely day. My name is Betty Kiptum. Bye-bye.
The Grand Prix winner of the Paralim Art World Cup 2023 is Pombo Barcelona. Congratulations. This is a contest for artists with disabilities. Thank you for making me feel that my existence is useful and that there is value in my work. The annual contest is held every year in Japan. This year there were 488 entries from 23 countries. The organizer of the contest works to generate sources of income for artists with disabilities. One example is their service renting artworks to corporations. These range from the gently shaded coloured pencil sketches of an artist named Kano to the bold, eye-catching works in vivid colours of another artist, Shinochi. I love the twinkle in these eyes. There's a real sense of freedom. I feel that people think about the importance of diversity ambiguously in daily life. We hope our employees will be inspired to learn about the situation of people with disabilities through their artworks. That's a major reason we sponsored this project. Morioka City in northeast Japan. This company handles works by artists with disabilities. It's run by Matsuda Fumito. Matsuda founded the company with his twin brother. They have a third brother 4 years older. Our elder brother is autistic with a severe intellectual disability. When we started this company, the first objective was to build a society in which he can live a happy life. They currently have about 250 artists under contract, both in Japan and abroad. The artworks are also used on neckties and other daily life products. This is one of their artists, Kobayashi Satoru. Satoru has a strong obsession with linking written letters and numbers. He can't draw well in the conventional way. That is his characteristic, or individuality. Here's a work by Kobayashi based on numbers. Not only his original works, but also products featuring his art are very popular. I made this drawing with an 8 and a 7 and a 3. Seeing Satoru having to carry out tax return procedures for his proper income has made him a source of hope for many people. Matsuda wants society to appreciate Kobayashi's creative individuality and for him to receive the compensation his talent deserves. What we are trying to do is like clearing layers of dust from a diamond, allowing its true essence to shine brightly. That's really our main goal. As interest in works by artists with disabilities grows, people are beginning to see disabilities as aspects of a person's individuality rather than as something lacking.
My name's Jung Gwon-jong. I'm the boss of this entire hotel. My duties include heavy lifting, spreading happiness, and driving fancy cars.